Sales tax is confusing, costly, and overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Today, we're going to cover how e-commerce sellers can finally make it simple.
Welcome to E-commerce Revamp, powered by Miva, the engine behind seamless online stores. Now here's your host, Rob Stanley.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another great podcast. Listen, it is pretty much tax time is coming up pretty quickly again. I know it seems weird. If you filed extension, you're probably hitting that very end of extensions. My daughter just called me today and she's filing taxes for the first time and she's just like pulling her hair out. She barely worked. She goes to college and she doesn't even understand this. And you know what? If you've been in the e-commerce world like I have for 20 plus years, man, it is confusing and it is definitely something that needs to be addressed. And I brought in just the right person. We're going to have Tom Hoops in from TaxCloud. Let's get him in here. Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Hey, Rob, doing good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Excellent, excellent. So today we're going to be talking about e-commerce sales tax made simple, which I'm hoping you can make it simple because, man, it is a tough thing. And, you know, I want to kick this off with the kind of first question that came to mind. And that is, you know, why is sales tax for e-commerce so difficult? Why is it so complicated?
Yeah, it's a great question. With sales tax, there's so many jurisdictions. You're dealing with basically every state that is issuing a sales tax, like 45 states, 13,000 different taxing jurisdictions, ever-changing tax rates, taxability, products, all sorts of things that have to go into every transaction that you're making in an e-commerce business. And you know, what's the tax result of those transactions? And it depends on, you know, where you're making the transaction, how you're transacting it, where it's shipping to, where it's shipping from. There's just so many factors that go into it that can affect the taxability. And then on top of it is the reporting aspect of it. And how do you report? When do you report? You know, making sure it's all done on time, making sure you're reconciling so that your amounts are correct. And then I think to go even a little deeper than that, when it comes to sales tax, I think there's kind of a missing talent level or expertise in the area where, you know, when you look into income tax, there's accounting firms that specialize this. And obviously you have the big four, and then you have, you know, all the way down to the mom and pop accounting firms that can help you with these types of things. When it comes to sales tax, though, you know, sure, the big four all have their sales tax compliance groups that can help you with this. But when you get kind of down into the smaller accounting firms, that goes away. So when you're working, you know, if you're a smaller e-com business and you're trying to figure out sales tax and you think you can go to your, you know, trusted tax advisor that helps you with your income tax, you know, you might run into an issue where they don't have the expertise or the knowledge or understanding of exactly what's going on with sales tax. So there's kind of there's a lot of things going on, and then it kind of can get difficult to get the support you need, you know, and without going to a larger accounting firm or, you know, outsourcing to a bigger consulting company.
Yeah, absolutely. Your personal tax are much different than your e-commerce or basically business tax. And finding that right person, not to give a name, but the local one on your block are not necessarily the right one that you want to go to for your business. And, you know, especially like when I'm dealing a lot with the e-commerce and even some of the tax stuff, getting tax stuff together, sometimes there's some terminology, let's say, in the tax world, and it could be a little confusing. Tom, could you help us out a little bit on some of the terminology that's used in the tax space, or that, and help us understand what those are and what they mean?
Sure. Yeah. I think the biggest word in sales tax right now, especially, is nexus. And what is nexus, and how has it changed? And I know we'll get into the Wayfair decision and what happened there, but, you know, where do I have nexus? And what is nexus? And is it just economic nexus? And it's not the case. There's still physical nexus. So understanding that. And then situs. And, you know, sometimes people think, okay, I'm shipping it to this state. That's where I'm going to pay the sales tax, or that's the location I'm going to pay the tax to, or jurisdiction. However, there's some states where if this transaction is taking place within that state, the situs changes. So, you know, where do I have to pay the taxes to? Is it the destination or is it the origin? And then just, you know, some of the other things with registrations and and tax rates. There's so many different things that go on with sales tax, and yeah, you can really spend a lot of time going into the rabbit hole. And luckily, companies like TaxCloud and other ones do a lot of that work for you, so you don't have to be as familiar with all the terminology with it.
Here's one I hear all the time, and I'd love for you to kind of tell everybody what the terminology means and why it's important. EBITDA. Tell us about EBITDA.
Yeah. We don't spend a lot with EBITDA with sales tax. Luckily we get to kind of stay out of that world. With sales tax, we're focused more on just your transactions and how your transactions are taking place. So yeah, that's actually a term that I luckily don't have to spend much time working in.
Sure, but as a tax guy, you would probably at least be able to help an e-commerce seller or somebody understand what EBITDA means. And basically it's like your bottom line, right? So
right.
Which is something you need to know. And so you brought up a good point of different things you should know versus getting help for things. When you are dealing with e-commerce businesses, what are some of the pitfalls you've seen them get into, and what should they do to avoid those?
Yeah, good question. One of the biggest things that I've seen is people rush sales tax. So they have this understanding they want to start working with a company who's going to start filing their sales tax returns. And they kind of take this huge approach of, I'm going to register everywhere, I'm going to start collecting everywhere, and I'll be all good. Sales tax is a pass-through tax. So, if you do it the right way and you collect it from your customers, the only out of pocket for you is going to be, the overhead to pay for whoever's filing your sales tax returns. With that, you're going to want to, sorry, what was the question again, Rob? I'm kidding.
No, it's okay. So basically what we're asking is what key tax pitfalls should people be avoiding when it comes to the e-commerce industry?
Yeah. So when you bite off more than you can chew, you start this project of registering everywhere, you start collecting tax everywhere. And the next thing you know, you're knee deep in it. It turns out to be a bigger project than you thought it was going to be. You started collecting tax, you're not registered to report the tax. I recommend take it step by step, understand where your nexus is, where you have to register, get registered in those states first, turn on those states tax collection, and then kind of do a rollout plan. So if you want to turn it on in every state, you want to just get it done with and automate that side of things, that's fine to do, but make sure you have a plan to do that and you don't bite off more than you can chew when you're going to register.
Love that. Sticking with the nexus, let's loop around to multi-channel. A lot of e-commerce sellers have multi-channel. They're on different platforms, multiple platforms selling. How should multi-channel sellers handle nexus and registration, dealing with that basically when they're on a multi-channel?
Yeah. If you can centralize where all of your transactions are being stored for sales tax, that's the best way to do it. A state's not going to care if you sell it through Amazon or if you sell it out of a physical store location. That they don't care where the transaction, how it's taking place. So kind of understanding that aspect of it, and just kind of working from there. I think you're going to want to, first understand that, and then just with Nexus, registering once you hit it is important.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's there's lots of things that can help with the multi-channel and with multiple different Nexus and registrations, right?
Yeah, and getting connected first, so all your transactions are being stored, and understanding that your footprint as a whole is kind of the first step with that. But it doesn't really matter how you're making those transactions. Nexus is going to look at, when a state comes and looks at what you're doing, they're going to want to understand, how you're selling things, what channels you're selling it through, and it doesn't matter how it's being sold. They're going to want their money, in one lump payment at the end of it.
Yeah. There's a lot of small sellers out there just getting started. Not everybody's a giant seller online or e-commerce seller. What is some of the simplest ways that a small shop or business can stay tax compliant?
Yeah, I mean, again, I recommend not biting off more than you need to. So especially some companies might try to sell you on getting registered in every state. Some accounting firms might recommend that. So starting small, just registering where you need to, understanding, the path forward for yourself too. So if you do have an idea that you're going to hit Nexus in a state, but you're doing a registration project in other states right now, like maybe we will loop that state in, or putting a plan together to make sure that that you understand, where you're going to register, when you're going to register. If you're approaching Nexus, maybe we register now instead of waiting. Just strategies like that to make sure you kind of get ahead of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great points. And we're going to keep this going. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, though, I'm going to talk to Tom about at what point should a business automate instead of managing taxes manually? Like, where is that point when they go from kind of a small business to a medium-sized business that they need to kind of switch over and automate that? We're going to do that right after this commercial break.
Is your store ready for the next level? Miva powers high-growth e-commerce brands with the flexibility and performance they need to scale. Want to know what's holding you back? Book your free website audit now at miva.com/podcast and get a custom plan to grow smarter.
Head on over to miva.com/podcast. We got lots of great resources. You can check out the old podcast. The page was just redone. Big shout out to Jeff at Miva for helping me get that new landing page redone. And if you want to get a free evaluation of your website, fill out the form over at miva.com/podcast. So right before we left, I was asking Tom, or we're getting ready to ask Tom, at what point should a business automate instead of managing taxes manually? Go ahead and take it away, Tom.
Yeah. So it really depends on the business and where you're registered for sales tax. Some states are going to have a single rate and it's going to be simple to file. Massachusetts, it's, gross tax, exemptions, taxable, and that's it. Other states like Colorado, if you're only registered in Colorado, you may want to go ahead and automate that one. Louisiana, Alabama, those are all states that the compliance aspect of it can get out of control and difficult and cumbersome very quickly. Colorado and Alabama and Louisiana have what we call home rule. So in those states, the local jurisdictions actually have the authority to administer a sales tax return. So you could have the potential of registering with the state and then those local jurisdictions that administer the tax return. So that could be 80 additional returns in just one state like Colorado. So now you have to file a state return, and then you could potentially have to file 80 other tax returns in that state. So kind of understanding that, and then, multi-channel, like you mentioned, if you're going to have a bunch of different revenue streams coming in and you're trying to figure out how to get it all onto a report or all onto an Excel sheet so that you can figure it out and file the tax return, those are all things you're going to want to consider before you outsource it. So take a look and see, you're going to have to register in the state, or you can have somebody register so you can kind of get a sense of how difficult that return is going to be to file. But once you start getting and kind of stacking those states and hitting Nexus in multiple states, it's probably time to start looking to somebody to outsource. A lot of businesses, smaller e-commerce businesses, they probably have more important and better things to do than spending hours filing sales tax returns. So once you kind of get to that point where, okay, I'm spending multiple hours every month to get this done, it's probably time to start looking for somebody to help you out.
Couldn't agree more. That's a perfect statement right there. Tom, when it comes to metrics, what are some of the metrics sellers should keep an eye on so they can stay on top of their taxes?
Sure. Yeah. Transaction count is what is going to help you hit Nexus, or what's going to cause you to hit Nexus, and then sales, your gross sales into a state. So those are the two things you're definitely going to want to monitor. The other thing too is employees. So where do you have employees? Are they, are you a remote company that is hiring people in multiple states? That's something you're going to want to consider, and ask employees too, because I've seen it where, you hire somebody in one state and then next thing you know, they move across the river. I used to live in Philadelphia and then moved to New Jersey. So understanding that could change the Nexus for a company just by having somebody move a couple minutes down the road. Kind of understanding those types of things is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I was born and raised in California, in the Bay Area specifically. You could just drive 30 minutes and you're in a different like tax bracket, different sales taxes charged. It
Yeah.
usually didn't vary too much, but it still could vary, and that's one of those things you got to be aware of. Just like you said, moving just from one state to the next can definitely vary a lot. I was reading this article a while back, and it was kind of a long article, and it was talking about SST, which I had to Google it, by the way. Streamline Sales Tax Program. Could you explain what a streamlined sales tax program is, please?
Sure. Yeah. So SST was introduced as a way to kind of simplify sales tax for taxpayers, and it gave them an opportunity to to report the tax that they're collecting, and do it in a way that they can kind of outsource that to a company that is a certified service provider. So being a certified service provider, you have to go through you have to check some boxes with the SST organization and get into a standing with them where you're able to transmit those returns to those individual states. And part of that program is simplifying the return process. At TaxCloud, the company I'm at, we are a certified service provider. We are part of the SST program, and it allows us to being part of that program. There's different tiers of it. The main tier that we file under is we can't charge for the tax returns that we file. So it kind of gives a low cost option to taxpayers to pay their sales tax. And then the way it works for us is we get some money back from the state for all the tax revenue that we report. So it kind of works out for everybody. It gives the businesses we work with a low cost option, and then we get in return paid by the state to do so.
Excellent. I think you just mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you just said that you guys are certified service providers, right? So how does you guys being a certified service provider help protect myself or any other sellers from an audit?
Yeah, great question. So the difference between filing an SST return as a certified service provider versus what we call direct file, where we file on the state site. The difference in that is if there's an audit, the return that we file to the state under that SST program is a TaxCloud or the certified service provider's return. So we get audited by those states. So it kind of gives some protection to our customers in the fact that they're not going to get audited. Now, there are ways they could get audited by those states anyway if they have a physical presence in that state. If there's other types of like income tax relevance that's taking place, there's still a possibility of an audit taking place. But for the sales tax purposes, our company is going to get audited. And it's important for us to make sure that we're getting the transactions correct as they're coming into our system, and understanding the taxability codes and the products that you're selling, our customers are selling, so that when that audit happens, which it will happen, we got it right the first time, and we're able to just say, yep, here's our data, here's what we did, here's what we filed, here's what we paid, here's what they collected, here's what they sold. We provide that information to them, and then we manage that audit for them.
That's perfect. And then how often should business file? I think I filed quarterly, but I think that varies, right? Could you help us a little bit about on how often people should be filing?
Sure, yeah. So when you register with the state, some states will set you up automatically for monthly. Some states will set you up automatically for quarterly. And then some states, as you fill out that registration form, it's going to ask you to estimate your sales for, usually the quarter or the year, or, whatever the states want to go with. And based off that estimate, they'll put you into a bucket of, you fit the monthly criteria, the quarterly, or the annual criteria. So really kind of doing that. And then also once you are having transactions and you're filing those tax returns, if you originally registered for an annual or quarterly, but then you fall, as you're reporting those returns, states will periodically go through and monitor that, and they'll change your filing frequency. So they'll issue a letter that says, hey, you're changed from quarterly to monthly, or annual to monthly, or monthly to quarterly, quarterly to annual, things like that. So you're gonna make sure you're monitoring your sites and your letters that are coming to you in the mail, so that if something like that does change, you can make sure to get it updated. Other states too, California and New York, you file quarterly. You might have to make a monthly prepayment to those states, but then the returns are due quarterly.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, Tom, what kind of changes do you see coming up when it comes to the whole tax compliances in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, states states don't like to change much. They change the taxability of things. States are looking for more tax revenue. So I kind of see sales tax in general just kind of staying as it is. You now file online. I think there'll be some changes. I'm sure AI is going to change things. I'm sure the filing component of things will get changed either through the states, which I see less likely, more likely through some of the technology companies that are getting into sales tax. But states, they're kind of missing out on a little bit of revenue, and they're seeing their numbers dip a little bit. And I think a lot of it, it's kind of the remnants of COVID, where people were staying home more. They weren't going out. They're shopping online. They're watching Netflix instead of going to the movies. They're ordering DoorDash. People are staying in more, and that's kind of hurting states in a way where people aren't going out and they're not buying things. They're not, going to the movies and things like that. So states are trying to, and some states are trying to get things, change the tax rulings on things where they can start charging sales tax and forcing their taxpayers to collect tax on things that were previously tax exempt. So there might be some change in services and things like that could kind of switch from being not taxable or exempt to now being taxable.
I love that. Who goes to the movies anymore? I just heard about a movie that's in the movie theaters for 2 weeks and it's going to be on Netflix. I don't even think I can make it there in 2 weeks. Sorry, got a little off topic there. When it comes to AI, you were just talking about AI for a second, and you were saying, I was kind of curious, when it comes to AI, will AI help make filing simpler? If somebody, let's say, like my daughter, I was talking about when I was doing the intro, she doesn't do a company. She works a little bit while she's going to college. Will that help her down the road, or maybe even some of the e-commerce bigger sellers with their filings?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know businesses have already started trying to, figure out how they can use it and are using it, just to do the tax filings and try to complete that and automate those, is a big piece of it. I mean, a lot of what we're doing is the data entry, and how can we make that simpler? The other side of it is understanding taxability rates and codes and products that you're selling, and having an understanding of, is this taxable in this state? And this is the way I sell it. And, there's so many different things that go into, is your product taxable or is it exempt? And especially when you get into some customized things, like it goes into a rabbit hole of just, is this taxable or not? And I think there's a big case for AI in helping that out, and understanding tax rates, and going through state websites and just pulling the tax rates and comparing them against other systems, and make sure you're getting it right. You're dealing with 13,000 taxing jurisdictions, 13,000 different tax rates. There's just so much room for error when you're dealing with those numbers, and when they're constantly changing and updating. I think AI is going to be a big part of what sales tax calculation and compliance is doing in the future.
Absolutely. And couldn't agree more. And I think it's just going to integrate more and more and help more and more. Which is a good thing. Tom, before we kind of switch over and talk a bit more about TaxCloud, some of the services you guys offer and how people can get a hold of you, if you had to give sellers one simple step to take today to kind of help with their taxes, or what could get them going in the right direction, what would it be?
Yeah, it would be first, understand your nexus. Get a good look at your data. If you have multiple revenue streams, understand, compile that in a way where you can get a sense of it. There's options out there that are free that can kind of help you with that, or low cost solutions to kind of get your foot in the door with sales tax. Don't fall behind in it. I've seen it a lot in the consulting world, where you fall behind in sales tax, and now you're dealing with the VDA, you're dealing with penalty, you're dealing with interest. So get ahead of it. If you have fallen behind, you got to stop. You got to stop thinking it's going to clear itself up by itself. It's not going to happen. Try to jump on it, and just start addressing those things, and break it down piece by piece, and start to get it figured out.
Perfect answer. Tom, tell us a bit about TaxCloud, what kind of service you guys offer, how you help some of these e-commerce sellers. Maybe also kind of just like, suggest what point should people be reaching out to TaxCloud? Is it day one when they start a business, or is it as they, start to grow?
Yeah. So at TaxCloud, I think we're a great fit for a lot of different companies, small businesses, mid-sized businesses, enterprise. Like, we really fit into anybody. We do a great job calculating tax. We're an SST provider, certified service provider. We do, so we're a low cost option for companies to get their foot in the door, and start reporting their sales taxes. We work with a lot of companies that are transitioning from other sales tax providers. So we have, the knowledge and the help center and the onboarding staff. Our onboarding staff is fantastic. You work with a person to get you onboarded. If you have questions, you're working with the person. They'll help you get through whatever issues you're dealing with getting onboarded and implemented with sales tax and TaxCloud. And then, a lot of our businesses, as they're going through that transition, we provide them a packet that can walk them through step by step to get set up. And then being a part of the SST world, we make things simple. And it's not just that you get the low cost, like you were mentioning before, of the filings that are offered for free, but you also get the comfort of, I'm not going to have to get audited, or I'm likely not going to get audited by these states. This is going to be off, I'm going to pass this burden off to TaxCloud. They're going to deal with this. We're still going to work with you to make sure you're calculating things and collecting things the right way, because we will get audited, and we want to make sure that it's the audit goes smooth and is correct when it's done.
Absolutely. And listen, if you're either a Miva client or thinking about becoming a Miva client, TaxCloud is a partner of ours. Integration is built in. We're all there together. They're great to help out if you need any questions or have any questions regarding taxes. Tom, just tell everybody how they get a hold of you, or the website, if they want to get more information or follow up on this.
Sure. Yeah. TaxCloud.com. There's our pricing's out there. Everything's out there. Check us out, get in touch with sales if it's something you're interested in. So TaxCloud.com.
It's that simple, just like it sounds. So for everybody who's out there listening, it's TaxCloud, TaxCloud.com, TaxCloud.com. It's easy. It's easy to find out. Reach out over there. They have plenty of people over there to help you. If you have any questions, you can definitely get a hold of them. And if you're thinking about moving over to Miva or even on other platforms, reach out to TaxCloud to help you with all your tax needs. Tom, appreciate you coming on the podcast. You provided a lot of good information. Unfortunately, I think some people, they just don't think about taxes till the last minute. So hopefully this will be a way for people to kind of get involved now, think about it now, think about things you need to do now to make your taxes much easier, either this year or possibly next year, depending when you're listening to this. But thanks again, Tom, for coming on. Thanks to TaxCloud for being a sponsor of Camp Miva and also being a partner of Miva. We really appreciate you guys, and we'll see everybody on the next episode. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to Ecommerce Revamped. Ready to find out what's holding your site back? Get a free expert audit at Miva.com and see where you're leaving money on the table. Until next time, keep your cards full and your customers coming back.